board meeting here at Node Interactive. This is Todd Moore, and I'd like to call the board to order, please.
This meeting is now being recorded.
Okay, meeting called to order. Okay, Mike.
And we're going to play from... Can we just do a quick roll?
So can we do a roll call of the directors who are present, please? So on the phone, Scott, have you joined us again?
I'm still here.
Great, and hopefully you can hear us much better.
Yeah.
All right.
And is Mark Scarpus there still?
Mark, are you also there? Mark Scarpness?
Who is 778 member? Ankle maybe?
I think that's the,
That's probably the
because
Polygon.
as
That's
on
the
Zoom, I
Polygon.
actually saw it activated
Yeah,
as the speaker.
778-251 is the Polygon.
Yeah.
Are there any other board members on the telephone line? Okay, so why don't you go through what you have?
Yeah, so from the directors, we have Todd from IBM, Garo from Microsoft, Miles from the TSC, Brian as the Silver Director, Sarah from Google, William representing the individual membership, and Scott from Joyent as counsel, and the Grove, and then from the Linux Foundation side, Mark, Todd, Greg, Sarah, Tracy, and Mike Dolan.
And you got William too.
Yeah, got William. Yep.
All right. Please take note of the antitrust compliance notice. And this is this session's agenda. We will start with the approval of the September public meeting notes attached as Exhibit C. Can I get a motion to approve? Motion. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Abstaining? All right. They've been approved. All right. Since we are at Node Interactive, we are currently looking towards 2018 for Node Interactive. The LF events team who produced this event has put out for bids the potential places that we could go. We looked at San Francisco, we looked at New York, which are very, very expensive. We lose on this year we're losing roughly $90,000 on this event because we fund things like Collab Summit and such, and plus we didn't have a great year ahead plan for Node Interactive. So I really wanted to get this nailed this week so that we can let people who are budgeting for next year know. We did not get a lot of responses on our bids. So we had sent bids to Boston, we had looked at, I think she said Denver and Vancouver. And Portland. And
Yeah,
Vancouver right now is going through a period where it is an attractive place financially to put on an event. OpenStack was here. I think there were a couple other conferences I've been here. I think QCon was here. There was something else. But anyhow, given the response and for us to look at targeting space for 1,500 people, which this event should have roughly 800 people, this falls into our parameters, and I think that we should evaluate how this week goes and just see if Vancouver works. Otherwise, we can have the LF events team keep pushing for bids to come back, but the clock is ticking. We have till the end of the year, I feel like, to get into a lot of people's budget cycles. And outside of potentially maybe Austin or Denver, I don't see us having a really good opportunity to grow the conference and have it be affordable for us. Otherwise, we would be on the hook for quite a bit.
Did we meet our growth targets for this year?
So for us, we targeted 707 people were the attendees were the goal. As of this morning, we had 747.
Okay.
The thing that was interesting though is that I think, and we need to manage this differently. We should have a revenue target because a lot of those, and we did have a revenue target, but what I was looking at was the head count, which I wanted 800 to 1,000 for this, and we really didn't start promoting it until March. That's why we really got to get ahead of it. And I also think that we really need to make it part of an ecosystem play where we get people that are working with Node that are not our usual suspects. So if you notice, we just added the JS Foundation at the last minute because they have all the frameworks that are complementary to us. I think we should talk to Facebook about what they want to do around React and see if that makes sense. So I think we should talk to other potential people like Nginx, people in our ecosystem that have a big part of Node.js and try and get them to do events alongside of us or contribute in a meaningful way so that this becomes a better ecosystem play. Because right now it's very developer focused, which is fine, but I think we need more users and we need more partners to help us with our success. So,
And that's the strategy to take it from 800 to 1,500.
yeah, would be one of the things I looked at is there's a conference that the Linux Foundation puts on called Abstract, which has about 300 people. Almost every one of those speakers submitted to us. And I think that there's a good opportunity for them to be a track. I think the JS Foundation had wanted to do an event. I think that would make it a good track. I think that it would be a good track to bring in some of the other frameworks like Angular and Vue and obviously React, and having track where those framework people come in and do that and have a broader ecosystem play. So that's how I would get to 1,500. That's aggressive. I mean, if you look at what it takes to build up some of these conferences, you either go for a very much a user conference or a developer conference, and I'm proposing a little bit of a hybrid. I would also add a business track, and that's not a great user track that is something that would be attractive to people who are using that, but probably not intimate with us on GitHub. So I look at a lot of our power users, especially in Europe. YLD said we have, he had listed one, the one that is British Broadcasting, which does The Guardian, I guess, and a whole bunch of these companies. They're like, yeah, I don't know if I would really go to the Node Interactive because they feel like they want to talk to the Slacks and the Ubers and the Airbnbs and not so much the developers, but they still, Condé Nast would be a good one.
Yeah, News UK.
News
I would assume.
UK, that's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking of.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I tried to turn the audio up as well because I
Okay,
think.
I'm moving the phone.
yeah, sorry.
Sorry for the noise.
But anyhow, so that would be my recommendation is for us to look at Vancouver again and then try and bring in partners that would make sense. And then we also, before we get to Node Interactive 2019, we should have a plan, because if you don't get on these schedules, like if we wanted to do something in the Bay Area, you can't get a venue in the Bay Area if that was where we wanted to go. And a lot of places you can't get in because the space is booked out way ahead of time.
You'd be booking in the Bay Area for 19 now.
Yeah,
you have to.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say that's a bad idea. But it's also, you're looking at twice the cost. So we've got to be confident that we will have the revenue to support this, the users to support it. And I don't expect us to ever make a profit on it, but it should be pretty close to cash flow neutral if we plan ahead.
I think from the outside, this venue definitely seems better than the Portland venue that we
Yeah.
Did you do
Yeah,
the
this
vote?
is a gorgeous venue.
So I think from that perspective, the vote definitely goes to this one. Let's just see how the event goes in the next couple of days. And
Some of the things we've seen about coming here is that if we have users in Asia, they're far more likely to come here. The expense for people coming from Europe is actually about the same.
about the same.
Yeah, it's not so, it's almost break even. flights from the States are cheap.
Yeah.
The exchange rate is preferential, and the hotels aren't that expensive, and this is a great venue.
Yeah,
So.
I think if everybody is game, I think it looks great. I mean, this looks much better than Portland.
Portland
so.
is the OCC. You're talking about the Oregon Convention Center in Portland.
No, we did not have it there.
Yeah.
It was the Hilton. It's the
Oh,
Hilton
yeah,
has
no, that's
that.
Yeah.
The basement
Yeah.
with
Never
no
mind.
windows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, really? The OCC was that
Yeah.
bad?
I think it's also worth like not ignoring that with like the current political climate, people outside of the states are
Don't
much
want to
more
come to the States.
likely to come to Canada.
Canada,
than the
yes.
States.
I think so. Let's just.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's our best option. And so at the end of the week, unless if anybody sees anything that's a deal breaker, let me know. But I'm going to sit down with the events team and make sure, like, there's other things that we don't see, like back of house. Make sure that they're dependable.
I think
and
let's
things
do
like
it the other way. If anything goes wrong, we should contact you. Otherwise,
Yeah.
feel free to pick this as the
that.
best.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to plan on then.
This level of expansion is going to take serious investment, both from the community around things like a CFP and a multi-track curation and an editorial investment, as well as the Linux Foundation and Node.js Foundation.
Yeah, and I think that we're going to have to look at curating the content a little differently than we like. I think there should be tracks that the current process was we did a blind CFP, and I think did you and who else helped curate them, Tracy?
Well, we had the group of people who helped review, which was Thomas and Joy, and there were a couple more people who were listed who didn't end up reviewing.
Yeah, and I think that it's important that we still do that, but I also think that to have a successful conference, we've got to go recruit some of the content that will attract people. And so we got to do both. So I want to set that stage.
Well, we do that.
Well, you do that, yes.
We do that currently, but we just every year we adjust the strategy
Yeah.
for what we need to, what is trending and what exists and needs to be paid attention to in terms of legacy as well.
And Tracy has organized conferences and done a good job of that. So we're lucky to have her skills, but we also got to look at what's going to attract people that aren't at this one.
So one thing that I think is a play that we could maybe do, and Tracy can maybe correct me if I'm going in a direction that's not helpful. JSConf US has not been run since 2015. Now there is a lot of weight there due to like it was stopped because of the health of one of the organizers. I'm not sure that they want to necessarily share the name for that, but that was a brand that sold out tickets in 24 hours. And simply that conference not existing has created a vacuum for a 400 to 500 person event. That's just not happening. There's lots of small events that are being run instead, like Dinosaur.js, but they're not at the same scale. Chris Williams and I were hanging out recently in Virginia, and he had talked about maybe even being in a place where he might want to re-engage in this kind of stuff. But that might be an avenue worth exploring, because if we could put a JSConf brand on it, for example, that's 500 people that aren't here today that would show up.
Yeah, and we really want to think about whether we do that or partnering with it. Like Charlie Beeler from Node Summit was very gracious in helping cross-promote that. I think a lot of these events, Chris would help us out promoting that. I think it would be good for us to figure out if maybe we have Node Interactive, but maybe we have like JS Interactive, and then we bring in Node Interactive, and then the JS Foundation could do something, and other people could do something under the Interactive
Do it all in the
brand.
same week, same
Yeah.
venue.
Together.
Yeah, and that's how
Sell
you create
tickets
that.
to individuals or group tickets to both.
You want to create a big ecosystem tent, and if we don't want to lose any of that branding that we have if it has affinity.
Well, that's bigger than a 1,500 person event.
Yeah.
When you do that.
Yeah, but we're not in a position to sign in. Like right now, stuff is flying off the shelves, so I feel like it would be pretty risky unless somebody wants to backstop it.
I don't think that if you choose a first-tier city and you plan something of that magnitude, it's a calculated risk. The biggest problem there is that you have to have the money ahead of time. So we would have to commit funds from next year for 2019 to get the deposit, because the money to get a venue of that caliber is going to be much higher.
So honestly, we've been looking at putting together an event that was just all communities.
Yeah.
came together and could go and do something. So maybe we could get folks to partner up and do that and backstop it and bring it in and get that as a kickstart.
Let me go back to the events team, because one of the reasons I like Vancouver is that there is expansion room here, and so there isn't that much downside risk. But this is where I think we draw the line. I want a good event with 1,500 people. I would love a great event with 3,000. And so where we can mitigate our downside risk, and we can really start looking at partners, because I would be happy to have, if Facebook was going to do a React conference, I think that would be an amazing thing to add. I don't know that who else in our ecosystem, but maybe have the Mongo people do an event alongside of that. Maybe have Nginx do a side of that. Just an Angular, Vue, whatever makes sense, so that we start getting a good cross-pollination and getting a core around the JavaScript. I mean, but that would be my strategy.
We can take that offline.
Yeah, but that's where we're going. So I don't know that we need to go any further into this, other than these are some of my ideas around it. But I will, at the end of the week, get us into 2018, and that's where we're heading, is 1,500 person event, bigger ecosystem play. All right. This is something that I just wanted to bring up and make sure that everybody's aware of. But the Linux Foundation has partnered with the National Center for Women in Information Technology, and we have ally skills training for our speakers at all of our events. I think it's a really good resource that, beyond the speaker training, it's just a good resource in general for how we speak and address people and treat people. So I don't know that we pushed this for Node Interactive this year, but we asked that all the speakers consider taking this training.
We offered it.
Did we? Did we?
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, I think we were able to introduce it last year for Austin, but not Amsterdam.
Okay.
And we offered it this year as well.
Did.
Yeah.
But it's a good resource. I would encourage all of our TSC members, compound members, board members to consider going through it. It's online, self-paced. It doesn't take too much time, and it's a good, get you thinking. All right. So Miles had brought up the some change to the TSC Charter.
I can take this.
Yeah, and actually, Andy had just gotten this. I was on a plane, so I didn't see the thing. But why don't you explain what this is, Miles, and then Andy should give some color to it.
Yeah. So this first one, the TSC Charter still had language that made the director and chair one role. This had been fixed in the board's charter and the board's stuff, but it just hadn't downstreamed. So this was just language training changing to the TSC Charter to make this explicit. Andy, did you have anything to add to that?
Certainly, they need to be conformed in one direction or the other. I'm just rereading this. No, I think this is fine as it is.
And so this one has a pull request in. It's TSC pull 333. So if you want to take a look at it, it's one of the two ones that are open there. And it's, this one's pretty straightforward.
So this language was from the bylaws, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is just updating the downstream bylaws to.
Before it was conflicting.
Yeah.
And this was
This
just
one
taking
matches.
So I can read it if that makes it easier, but if it's not the best use of time.
I don't think we have to read it.
Okay, cool.
So, is there a motion that we have to make or anything? Because we've already approved the change previously, so I think it's really just making sure it happens.
So I was under the impression, but I could be mistaken, that changes that we want to land on our charter still require approval. But if I'm more than happy.
No, that's the
Okay.
case. But I thought we'd approved the change previously in the previous meeting.
Oh, okay. That I was
I
don't.
Not
We
this
approved
No,
the
not
changes
the
to
script.
the
No, we
bylaws,
didn't.
not-
Right.
This is new. So
But this was currently in the.
This is in the
You get me
TSC
confused.
charter.
This is in the TSC charter.
But it is language from the bylaws of the
Bylaws.
board.
Oh, but it
Bylaws-
hasn't made it.
So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're approving
Yeah.
the
So we
change.
had
So-
approved the changes for the bylaw wording.
But
They
haven't
just want to
down-
take them to the charter, which we
Yep.
have to probably approve.
so
Okay, I guess when we approved it, I thought
Yes,
that maybe
yes,
it was
it
both,
was self-evident.
yes.
Yes,
Both.
exactly, yeah.
So if, can you give us the motion that we need to make there, Andy?
Well,
Or the
alternatively,
resolution.
I would
Or
like this,
go
would
back.
it be better
Well,
to,
we're still in decision.
to not just have this and just defer to the bylaws, because that trumps it anyways? Otherwise, we're duplicating. If we ever change this, we'd have to change it in both places. You see my point?
So would that be a motion?
So, I think that we should always be consistent. It doesn't really make sense to have two different documents that one defers to the other. That should be in harmony with it. So, if everyone is in agreement about the same thing, which obviously we are, it would make sense to go ahead and do the next step, which would be to change the TSC. Otherwise, future people on the TSC might assume something is different than it really is.
But Andy, you're recommending against just making the TSC charter a reference to the bylaws?
Well, you could, I mean, you could do it either way. I mean, I think it's easier for people to digest the document in one read, but both ways would work.
So I'm for having it honestly in both places because therefore you just read through it. You don't have to go find the bylaws.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. And do we think we'll ever really change this?
I don't think you'll ever change this again.
Motion to accept Board Request 333 for the TSC.
Seconded.
All in favor?
I
Opposed? Abstaining? Okay. Motion carries. Okay, let's see. Then we have this is a much more complex issue, and you want to give us the background on this one?
Yeah. So I wanna preface by saying that this issue, pull request 318, does not yet have consensus at the TSC level, and this is something that I believe this has been moved over to the admin repo since we talked about this. So it would be something that would affect both the technical steering committee and the community committee. But I wanted to bring it to the attention of the board that this is something that we are working on right now. The pull request proposes changes to specifically making one-year terms for TSC members, which must be recertified each year. It adds requirements that TSC members must maintain participating in at least one working group. There is not consensus on this right now because not everyone on the TSC is always involved in a working group, and that doesn't necessarily make sense for the community committee. And it also adds mandatory independent binding third-party mediation under oversight of the board. It also includes language around leadership expectations that would refer to a values document that we are also currently working on. There's a session planned for the upcoming Collaborator Summit for us to focus on a core values document that this would extend. I don't think we're going to reach consensus on this anytime soon, but this is part of our own ongoing process to improve where we are. So I think it would be really useful for people to take a look at this, and I'd also be really interested, based on people's prior experience, if there's any red flags that you're seeing right now that we should be made aware of.
I think Andy you had reviewed this, Andy. There were a couple considerations that you had brought up to me. Can you share that with the group?
I think that the third bullet is covering an appropriate topic, but I think it leaves out steps in between filing of a complaint and going to full-blown mediation. The role of mediation is usually to help resolve a dispute that the parties aren't able to resolve on their own. And this would be extremely, unusual, for communities in general not to be able to resolve things on their own. So I would have this as a step of last resort rather than an automatic, lateral to mediation. I mean, presumably there's all kinds of scenarios. Someone files a complaint situations, there wouldn't really be any, purpose in going to mediation. So it seems to me that there's some steps that are missing in between the second bullet, but before you get to that third bullet. So what I would encourage you to do is to figure out ways to resolve internally that leaves this one as being, if all else fails, we go to mediation. That would be my personal opinion.
That third bullet point was meant to be an escalation
Yeah,
policy,
so-
correct? So yeah.
We've iterated on that actually since this slide was made. As it is standing right now, the language is actually just explicit, saying, like, it specifies what the expectations are of leadership, and then it says if you feel that people are not in line with that, to refer to our moderation guidelines and to our code of conduct. So this document, I believe, in its current form, would no longer actually specify any of those stages, and would defer to our larger document for that. Would that?
It seems like you got too many documents, honestly.
Yeah.
It's nice to have things spelled out in one place.
Yeah, we have to have a set, like the full steps from like report to this happens in a normal scenario of conflict. This happens when we escalate. This happens when we have gone to escalation and can't. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was imagining all of that would be in our moderation guidelines
Yes.
explicitly.
Yes.
And that this document, which is around requirements for the TSC, would refer to that. Let me double check and make sure I'm not conflating two different things here. Oh, you know what? I am conflating two different things because we have a separate document on the admin panel. I apologize for that.
Really, in the specific, situation that led to this, I think it was less a matter of dispute between an individual and the TSC, but more of division within the TSC about what was appropriate, leading to a feeling that, there was a divide within the TSC and the community. So that's actually, I think, the case that they're referring to, not that there was a conflict. It was that the TSC itself couldn't decide on the appropriate remedy.
Right.
So it sounds like there's more work to be done.
Yeah. So we'll iterate on that
Okay.
specific point.
Bring it back in. We'll look at it with you.
But I think the key is that there will be a policy for how you're gonna, the steps that that third bullet is part of
Yes.
the policy that is what's lacking right now.
Yeah,
as
and
a
the moderation team has started working on that. Tracy can probably speak to that, or at least has
We're
been
meeting
tasked
more this
with.
week. Yeah.
Great. All right. I think that's everything on this. Tracy, do you have some updates on? I think we're gonna launch a certification this week.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the dates now. So certification tomorrow, I believe, yes, is October 4th. And that's going to be the launch of the beta candidate notification. So beta stage 1 of the Node certification is about 40 candidates who were randomly selected but then curated to match the data that we have about global users. And that includes a variety of companies because as part of the form sign up, they indicated where they're from, both in company and location. So that's going to happen through November 7th. And then we'll go into the beta 2, which is approximately 100 candidates that will follow under the same mechanism for selection. Beta 1 is free to the candidates who were selected. Beta 2 is a discount. And when we wrap up the beta 2 program at the beginning of December, we establish the cut score. So that's enough candidates that we can determine the passing score for those who have taken the certification, and then all of the beta candidates are notified of whether they have succeeded. And then we have the full launch date, December 11th, after we've worked out all of the kinks during the beta program. Yeah.
And then the certification is a practical exam hosted by HackerRank. Is that right?
Yeah, so it is an in-browser Node environment. They provide you an IDE, and our partner with HackerRank allows us to be able to do that. And we had about 30 contributors from the Node community. That's developers, hiring managers, training, and teachers who helped write that curriculum. And it is completely in code. So everything that you're doing, you're writing Node and JavaScript. And you get output immediately as to whether your code is running or not. And you are writing tests as well as part of that. And it's pretty exciting. It's a lot of work, but
What
I'm
kind of
excited to.
materials will people have access to while they're writing this exam? Is there reference docs that they have access to?
So the docs that they have are the docs that I should not say that. Apologies. I'm going to work back on that. The tools that a developer who is writing Node has. So it is web. You have access to everything that you would normally use, and that's NPM packages. That is the Node API docs. That is Stack Overflow. But as part of that, you are accompanied by a proctor. So you are screen sharing, and there are guidelines as to what you can and can't have out. You cannot take notes physically while you're taking the exam, but you are provided an in-browser notebook as an alternative because the proctor has to be able to see what you're doing. And they are trained in watching out for behaviors that indicate cheating. So we just thought that there would be a disadvantage to.
So is video and audio going on at the same time with the proctor?
Yeah, but we wanted to make sure that we were setting everyone up for success to the point where it's their normal coding environment as much as possible. The one caveat is that it is we were not able to provide different operating systems for that, so we were confined to Ubuntu.
Great, thank you. Any other community updates?
I think from community updates, I don't think that I have anything on my end. I don't know if William, if you or Ashley had any updates from the community committee.
My chairs, we have Jenny and Rachel.
Yeah.
That were elected as co-chairs.
Yeah.
And the moderators now, you've got a full slate of moderators.
Oh, that's a really exciting update. Yeah. So on top of having new co-chairs with community committee, which is awesome for us to have in Rachel and Tierney, we also have the establishment of the new moderation team, which is meeting this week at Collab Summit, in person and remotely. And those teammates were approved through the normal consensus-seeking process of the TSC and ComCom, and selected among the collaborators through self-nomination, I guess, or nomination in general. So we are working on establishing guidelines, and I think after this next meeting, we're actually going to have public meetings that are recorded, but we were just trying to get onboarded with everything and get a lay of the land as the moderation team. So.
Are there any questions on the Zoom?
On the Zoom. Sorry, this is moving super slow.
I think this works better than the convoluted go-to-meetings, streaming, screen share, capture to get it to YouTube. But is that true or false?
We'll find out from the. I am streaming. I am streaming using OBS still with Zoom. but I was trying a slightly different audio setup software installation with mine. So we'll find out from the people who were watching the. Yeah, that's why I'm trying to pull that up now. Sorry. Yeah, it was moving really slowly for loading.
But the sound is very low.
Oh, okay.
Those were the only comments.
So,
Okay,
no questions.
thank you.
All right.
Okay, then should we motion to close
Yeah.
the meeting?
Can I get that?
Okay, motion, or I
Yeah.
guess you're saying we should close the
You
meeting. I
can
guess
close
we
it
the
because
meeting.
you're the chair.
I'm the chair. Okay, meeting adjourned.
Thanks.
Thank